What a day just before Holi, the festival of colors, and here we have an array of experts, who are going to talk about what is happening in the AI space. Uh, our topic, AI in action, disruptor, enhancer of game changer. I think we all are today dealing with AI in some way or the other, in some form or the other. Uh, there's a certain bit of reliance that has come on that piece of technology, but is it dependable? Is there something which can become better? What are some of the first-hand experiences these esteemed, experts have witnessed? We're going to delve into that. Uh, these are the kind of conversations we'll have. I think, I have to just figure around. Let me start with the only man, with the second man on the panel, with you, Nikhil. There's so much of chatter around AI, and we all have to accept that yes, we use it, and there's nothing wrong in using it. What is your sense of how much of a kind of an evolution has happened over the last couple of years in the use of AI? How much of it has become part of your strategy?
I think AI was a bit of a black box before. I think Gen AI is fairly new. I mean, all of us been talking about it for a little bit more than a year. But predominantly, AI was a black box that only the IT folks knew about. Okay, where they were building algorithms, writing Python codes, and making up stuff that we never understood. But predominantly to look at data-based, I would say, solutions, especially analytics, predictive buying models, predictive behavioral models, and all of that. So AI was trying to get into the predictive sort of a mode. Gen AI brought it to our fingertips. Now all of us are AI practitioners, if I were to call it that, uh, where your traditional search engine now is replaced by a contextual, conversational, I would not like to call it bot, say a mechanism where you can just kind of have a conversation with it. So that evolution is very clear. I think for the insurance industry, and we spoke about it briefly, it becomes very important as an efficiency tool to begin with, simply because all those people sitting across call centers can now basically be replaced by a really fast computer. And as long as it's able to recognize and learn and adapt to what customers have to say, AI is the way forward for our industry, if not for everybody else. As a comms professional, obviously, we are still dabbling with it, playing around the imagery and the videos and Delhi and Sora AI and all of that. It's fun. It's more now an experiment. Of course, we use it for stuff like paraphrasing. Quillbot did that, but I think ChatGPT does a better job. So yeah, learning and evolving.
Let me get another perspective here from Diksha. Diksha, as a AI as a dependable partner in a way, what has your experience been as a comms professional?
So, in my opinion, I think AI is the best buddy you could ever have, which is why I love the fact that Microsoft named their uh, LLM as co-pilot. It is not the leading engine. It is somebody that's with you all the time. It has the ability to have the next leadership seat, in my opinion, where it's going to be with you throughout. It's going to help you predict what is to come. In crisis management, I think it's going to play a very, very important role. And in my opinion, in fact, I would say I don't see AI as artificial intelligence. I see it as augmented intelligence, right? Something that's going to really help you stay ahead of the game. In fact, I read somewhere that AI is not going to take up jobs. People using AI are going to take up other people's jobs. And I think that's going to be the reality of it.
How many people use AI on an everyday basis? This is the kind of maturity we have. Tessin, as a comms professional, you have a lot of communication that goes beyond your, brand to external stakeholders, and has to be vetted, and it has to be really correct. And at times, we do use AI-driven automated content. How do you ensure that there is credibility and there is that brand communication authenticity stays while you are depending on that technology?
So, as I always say, that we can use AI as an assistant. It's a machine, and in communications, machines never work. It's the personal touch, it's the human emotions, and the human touch. So, how in our organization we of course use AI. So, first thing I'll say that we never use Chat GPT kind of apps. We have our specialized app called SynGPT, because of which we have data protection and our data never goes out. Second thing is, as a communicator, I take the use of AI very wisely and ethically. So I will create my own content, I will create my own brand guidelines, I will create my own video, but I will take support from AI, but wisely, ethically. And I'll give you one example. These days, AI is a big supporter when it comes to translating into regional languages. So I do make use of it, but then I get it vetted through a professional who knows the language, because we solely can't depend on AI. So the overall way of working in communications, dealing with external stakeholders, is to use AI but maintain that personal touch.
Wonderful. I mean, I think that human factor, as Disha's called, they have named it co-pilot for a reason, because you are there. The human part is always the higher side of it. Uh, to Tanya, and I want to come to you as well, Ina, right? Give me a sense of, Tanya, to start with you. What is the biggest advantage and one disadvantage of using AI in corporate communications?
Biggest is time saving and advantage, and the biggest challenge is accuracy. Uh, so, as in corporate communications, at a lot of times you need to do research, and there are very good bots that can, apart from Chat GPT. Chat GPT is not that good. They're good, better AI assistants, I would
I hope
say,
there are not Microsoft people here.
who will help you with the kind of research, the kind of data points that you are trying to use to build a story that you're wanted to go out with, or build a case that is strong enough to tell your story. It's just that how correct the source is. At times it's brilliant, but at times you also need to go back and check those reports, do a bit more research on your own if the source is correct or not. So I think while time saving is a very good point that like the AI assistants today are giving us, at the same time, accuracy is something that we need to cross check at all levels.
Ina, let me ask you a slightly different question about, since it has become a part of your team, AI is your team member now. Is there a formal way where you are also training teams when they a new joinee that how to use AI, how to use ChatGPT? Has this become so formal at the moment in your industry, for example?
Well, to be honest, we do have our set of policies and guidelines which are already in place, which is part of induction processes. Uh, Infra industry per se is yet evolving or trying to understand the whole value that ChatGPT or open source AI brings forth. So, we do have sessions for some people. For example, we have a Rhodes University with various online platforms wherein we do have sessions or trainings on AI as well as other aspects. But if I have to say that whether it is being rolled out to every individual in the organization, no, not yet. To some, yes. So it is still a very fragmented approach that we are taking, because in the infra industry per se, I think the value of the use of AI is still to be understood. The industry is still at a very evolving stage where we understand the value of communication itself. It is a very B2B segment which has a lot of government or authority, diplomatic, bureaucratic inputs or influence, and therefore the channelizing of an AI is still to be explored. It is still at a very, very nascent stage. So, as an organization that is headquartered in Spain, we do have a European influence in our working style, and therefore, such trainings are there, but not as a permanent way of dealing with things. Yeah.
Nikhil, you have an advantage of being in a sector. I think that is first user of all the top end technologies, and there you are with AI as well. Now let's come to the second side of AI, which is the chatbots and virtual assistants, which insurance sectors, they use, insurance sector uses very often. Do you think with the kind of technology we have now, the chatbots and assistants have enhanced trust and transparency? Do you think they are offering that? If not, uh, what is coming up, and what are the bigger challenges right now that people are facing?
I think all of us have some form of insurance. If we take a claim, we do not want to talk to an automated machine. We want to talk to a human being. So empathy is a large challenge. Uh, with advanced technology and better, large language models and NLP, a little bit of better understanding of interpretation of what a person's talking to the engine is coming out, and with better language fluency that comes out of the engine. But still, you need people manned, especially for claims. You still need the human touch to ask, I hope you are okay, you had an accident, forget your car, is everything fine, do you want some assistance? You still want a person there. However, places where efficiency is needed, for example, two-wheelers, for example, where renewal costs about, I don't know, 1,000 rupees for renewing a two-wheeler every year. Now, the efficiency needed there for putting a person to man that seat and call versus having automated calls happening on the go parallelly, it really saves you a hell of a lot of money. And it's a low involvement decision for the customer, so they don't mind talking to a robot and kind of, getting it done. So it's where you sit on the priority set on the customer side is where it matters quite a lot. I think the bigger challenge for all of us sitting here is going to be the Data Privacy Act. The rules are already out. Uh, how do you deal with that? How does what are the guardrails in place to ensure that customer data has been taken care of, that customer privacy is, honored? I think that's more important than the other stuff. Uh, Respecting the channels the customer wants to communicate on is very important rather than bombarding them with calls.
So, what do customers prefer normally? Have they started building trust in chatbots?
Customers honestly still say, get in touch with me over call. They still do. Although they tell you, get in touch with me over call over the policies I have. Don't sell me. And I know all of you all must have got a call from Bajaj Finance at some
Or
stage.
this is a complaint also.
uh,
Yes, odd hours.
yeah, but look at our share price, we go laughing to the bank. So, but very honestly, I think that's important. That's going to become crucial, and the fines that are going to be levied on organizations for breaking that trust is going to be large. So it's going to become a very compliance slash rule based sort of a thing that you cannot. That's going to become sacrosanct. You can't touch it. So how companies handle that is going to be interesting. Guardrails are already in place everywhere. Like I'm sure all of them have a GPT inside. We also have a Magic GPT. So guardrails, don't upload files, don't deal with data. The funniest thing I'll tell you as I end my point is, we are all talking about Chat GPT, everywhere, but unfortunately, most of us have it blocked at our organizations. I'm sure some of you, at least for the junior folks, which is funny. How can you expect them to use a productivity tool when you've blocked it? So there's a little bit of a conundrum between trust and technology, a bridge all of us need to cross very soon.
That's a very interesting observation, maybe for some other panel discussion, that there are silos within it, that there's an outside pool of knowledge, but there's a silo within it, and how do you deal with it? Diksha, in your brand, global brand that has footprints across the globe, you have to sometimes create content. Maybe you got a global briefing, it has a localized way. How does AI help in such things? How have you really have? Do you have a example to share? How you have really curated that, and AI really helped you?
So definitely we are creating narratives every now and then because the tech industry is very dynamic in nature. Everything is changing quickly. A narrative which was developed, say, 3 months back is obsolete now. And in fact, as a company also, HP is constantly changing its pivot to keep up with the changing trends. The global narrative is definitely the North Pole that you have to follow, but you need to localize it with the context, right? So in India, for example, there is a Make in India initiative that we're running. Our delivery capability in India is fantastic. It is unparalleled, and we have the largest employee base globally. Our largest office, in fact, is in Bangalore. So India as a market is very uniquely positioned for HP, right? Which is the case for most big tech companies because of the kind of opportunities this land offers, right? So while we are trying to localize the narrative, there are very small nuances that you have to keep in mind along with the larger message that is changing, right? So, for example, collaboration and partnership, we often use these words interchangeably, right? But you realize that these two words have very different connotations for different countries from a legal perspective. So, when we are drafting our press releases, you have to be very careful with this. And this is something that ChatGPT really helped me with while drafting my content. Other than that, also, while I'm trying to localize my narrative, we don't usually go in regional languages, but that is also a possibility. Transcreation is definitely important. But other than that as well, I've realized that I need to allow these AI tools to ask me questions so that I can be a better prompt engineer and help it contextualize the way I want it to operate, right? So, being good prompt engineers is definitely very important while I'm trying to localize the narrative. It helps me understand and predict if any statement that I've made could potentially be misunderstood, which has been a very big problem for PR professionals. We would intend something, and obviously, with that is something that comes with the job. You need to be very crisp and clear and be very good with what you're trying to communicate. But sometimes it does backfire, right? ChatGPT or Copilot or any other AI tool will really help you predict the tonality with which a particular statement can be perceived, which will again have local connotations because there is cultural sensitivity that you need to follow, right? So AI tools really help with that.
Right. Wonderful. Uh, Tessin, I want to understand, I want to touch upon, I'm very fascinated by this point that we all raised that you have internal obligations of using a certain, attempting the chat GPT or whatever AI model in a certain way. Uh, does it really limit the kind of pool of knowledge that companies have access to, according to you? And second, what are the best ways to leverage AI for your comms overall?
So first of all, I'll say it will not restrict because in our organization, every fortnight we get trainings and formal sessions on how to best make use of AI. We are introduced to various apps which we can use and which will be authentic. But on the other side, and since I lead comms from India and I take these sessions, I keep telling all the team members that, use it as your assistant. Be the master for AI. Don't let AI be your master. The moment you will let AI be your master and you will not give the right prompts to AI, Chat GPT, Sin GPT, it will not give you the right results. So in our profession, especially, I say AI is being considered as a game changer. We get real-time data. We are able to connect with our stakeholders, which are farmers, retailers, in real time. Precision agriculture, which is a very technical way of connecting farmers. It's greatly helping us. We are able to respond quickly. I remember during my NDTV days, I will stand outside the Met department asking for predictions every 2 hours update if there will be any earthquake which will be happening or anything. So it was a very, very laborious job. Now, when I work in agriculture sector and we talk lot about sustainability, environmental stewardship, how AI is a game changer is it is helping me in getting information within seconds. It's my duty that I verify because I always say that we can't solely depend, but we can take it as an assistant. We can collect data. Another thing is that which we talk about reaching out to customers. So of course, chatbots are important, but they are not humans. Sometimes I get irritated when I get erratic responses from them. I'm asking something and I'm getting another response. So despite all these technologies, what we feel is giving it a human touch, reaching out empathetically to our customers is the most important thing which we follow. For communications, yes, AI is a game changer. So if you remember in 90s, there was a movie called The Matrix, and we all were fascinated on how it was all like virtual. We never thought it will become a reality one day. So now it's a reality that everything is just a click away. We get pool of data, knowledge from there. So it's our duty as communications professionals that we use it ethically, wisely, and also verify it. I'll give you a very recent example. I was talking to a very senior journalist, a very, very seasoned journalist, 30 plus years experience. He wrote a piece doing a lot of research. It took him 3 days and it was a lengthy piece. And he was jokingly telling me after it was published, and he published it on his social media pages also, a PR professional somehow who was not very well versed with AI and the drawbacks of it, and did some research, used the same headline, the same story as a peg, and sent it back to that journalist. He felt very cheated that this is my byline and it is coming back to me. So these are also the challenges which we have to overcome. So I will say, as a communications professional into this industry, create your own content, be authentic, use AI and other tools just as an assistant, not your masters.
I think that example, what you mentioned, also brings to fore that don't blame AI. Sometimes you don't know how to use AI, right? That is to be blamed. You can't blame the AI. So it shows that that guy didn't use it well. Otherwise, maybe he could have saved himself. But moving on.
Right,
Yes.
right prompts needs
Right,
to be
that's what I'm
given
saying.
to it.
No, I want to come to all of you with that question: how to best leverage AI for comms. But Tanya, to you right now. The healthcare sector is highly regulated, and when you, of course, are using AI as an assistant, how much of a compliance issues do you face? I mean, how do you deal with those parts of that?
So, healthcare is, like you rightly said, it's very, very regulated, and it also depends on which market are you operating in. Like, US has completely separate regulations. UK, Europe, they are more conservative right now. GCC is completely on a different track. India is, um, we are right now. I don't know if I should say it. We
Please
are
do.
not there yet. We
Let us
don't,
admit it. It's
because
okay.
that's okay, because the thing is, I'll tell you. So with Docare, we majorly work with data markets, non-data markets. Like that's how we segmented our markets, and our data market right now is majorly US. Now we are starting to consider UK, Europe. Otherwise, India is very far, away right now. But so when you are a data market, when the data is already available, there are a lot of regulations, and if you're years into it, you know how to tackle data, how to deal with it, and then the regulations come accordingly. Like US has HIPAA, GDPR is in UK, Europe, and then you know what to, like, how to comply with what regulation. But here we are starting to build, like patient records are now, the government is doing a brilliant job. Like we are there, we are moving from pen and paper prescription to now, electronic health records. It will still take time, because to reach, to penetrate into rural areas and all of that, it will take a lot of time, but we are still starting to get there. So for us to even comply to regulations based on, how to use the right data, not use we need to have that data organized first. So that's what is happening here in India. I'll just talk about India right now. Now coming on to the communications bit of it, um, uh, again, when you're talking to what market, it depends on how you're writing. So if I'm talking to the US market, I have to keep in mind what are the government regulations that I have to keep in mind. If I'm talking to the UK market again, so the UK market especially is very, right now they're not too open to the fact that okay, we will give out our data, you will use our data. They're still very conservative, but ready to move on tracks of what the US has been doing for past 10 years. So then your language, your story, and how you're communicating is very different for that market, so that you keep their sentiments in mind. Uh, India is, we're just promoting things. We're just asking everybody, and we're just being happy about the fact that the government is finally taking the step to bring everybody or everything digitally now. And so that's that.
So it's a very diverse kind of audience
Correct.
that you deal
Yes.
with, and India
Yes.
being a totally different. And it's interesting that India is home to technology that we export, and yet we are grappling with some of the things. But Ina, let me ask you, beyond these com releases and info bits and all, if you talk about sentiment analysis, uh, do you think AI, or do you use AI in that? Does it really justify itself?
Well, the first answer will be yes. Uh, Given that if I take my industry, we are an infrastructure industry, highways is what we build. Mr. Nitin Gadkari has this great vision of making Indian roads fatality, zero fatality, uh, which is something that AI really helps us in trying to understand. That is how I would put it. Now, if I
Like
talk,
how? I mean, just a small
yeah,
example,
yeah,
yes.
absolutely, absolutely. So if I take one of my highways, every day there is, okay, unquoted,
Sorry.
but yeah, we do see a lot of fatalities which keep happening. The fatalities also lead to a lot of protest, aggression, which happens on the roads, which leads to traffic jams, which leads to revenue drops, which leads to chaos, which leads to stories in the newspaper.
Right.
Now, what I, as a communication professional, is taking the use of AI is data driven understanding of human sentiments. When we feed in the data, when I write on an open source or I try to analyze the trends, I get to understand that what are the areas which are A, the black spots for me, B, what is the kind of sentiments or the behavioral pattern of communities surrounding that area. That helps me to create or anticipate the next action that might happen, and therefore create a communication strategy and on ground operation strategy that will help avert a situation like that in the future. So AI has been, like everybody has been saying, a tool that has been helping or supporting not just communications per se, but also the operations part of our business to take preemptive measures. So, as far as crisis is concerned, we are somewhat being able to also avert the crisis from a reputation point of view. Fatality, yes, that is an on ground operations aspect which we are again working on. But from a communications perspective, from a media perspective, we are being able to look at the sentiments. Having said crisis being one part, I think the infrastructure segment is very conservative and at a very nascent stage from a PR outreach aspect as well. Very conservative because it's mostly crisis led. So, what do we do? Are we open to taking a different innovative approach? Not really. I think I just took a fam trip to one of my highways of key infrastructure influencers, and they have mostly been working with either real estate companies or with the ministry and NHAI. How many times have they really worked with a concessionaire to talk about how the highways are doing? They said, "You're the first one to do it." So I think why did I take that approach is when I tried to analyze the kind of sentiments, patterns, chatter that is happening about highways, about user experiences. That helped me take this approach that okay, people are listening to the influencers. People are talking about the problems that they're facing on the highways, the jams on the black spots which are there. Me taking an influencer approach will make sure that those issues can be addressed. So, yes, AI is definitely helping in creating a data driven analysis, data driven approach, which helps me understand the audience or the road user sentiments, and therefore giving a campaign which addresses all, or not, if not addresses, but at least touches all the aspects which are pivotal part of my communication or operation strategy.
Wonderful. Nikhil, somewhere it's also the AI may be really great and it has no errors. It's also about the use, how you prompt, how you get the information out of it. So we have different industries here, and all of you have your own experiences. So what are your two bits on how can we best leverage AI to get the maximum productivity, the accurate things out of it? Is there a way that you use? Is the science to it which you think everybody should use? There are a lot of people in the room as well. We'll take questions from them later on. But your two bits on that.
Pehla to yaar, don't villainize it. I think everybody tends to think AI is the asshole in the
Doesn't.
room, but they're not. AI is not. Anything new takes time. When there were horses, automobile cars were, automobiles were, kind of looked at what the hell is this? Is going to take away jobs of people who breed horses. And it's happened with computers, with typewriters, and so on. Let's just call it what it is. We all use it, okay? We secretly love it. We might diss it for certain things that it does not do right, but first accept it. Okay, that is going to be the future. It's here to stay. Secondly, obviously, understanding what to ask is more important than the output it throws out at you. Because if you're just randomly going to say, give me an article on the GDP state of India over the next 10 years, you've had it. You're going to get some random pieces of information. So are you driving it in the right direction? Are you writing a really long prompt? Sometimes a prompt has to be as long as your article. If you're expecting 1,000-word article, write 1,000-word prompt. Why not?
That's an interesting.
Because you're basically giving it all the pieces of information you want. What is the insurance of the current penetration of insurance is 1%. Where do you see it go? Okay, can you answer that from the context of XYZ? So who's writing the article? Are you putting so not just prompting but prompting on behalf of whom is also very, very important. I think there is where a lot of us don't really know how to use it, but we will sooner or later we will. And I think that's the quality difference between a well written and like I said before, and I think we were discussing it, AI is a team member who is given assignment. It's just that they come back very fast to you that, hey, here's the first cut of the article. You edit it and then you tell him, Chaja, abhi polish kar. That sort of a thing.
Excited intern, yeah.
Excited intern who's doing stuff fast for you. Uh, of course, AI has always been there, to be honest. If there are marketers here, we used to have programmatic and marketing campaigns that were optimized for XYZ. It was just called something else. Now it's called AI. It's always been there. I still think Quillbot is something that is used by a lot of people here for paraphrasing, grammatical correction, Grammarly as well. I don't really call it AI, but that is important. I think it kind of what can I say, puts in perspective that your English may not be the best in the world and you need some help. Okay. For me, it's very easy when I tell an intern or a junior to write an article and I see US English with lots of Z's. I know इसने GPT से टेपा है, ठीक है. And of course, and one last point is that put GPTs against each other. I mean, put Gen AI versus each other. Get one to write, get the other to verify, get the third one to correct it or polish it. I think that's also a cool thing to do because then you're getting, like I said, the grand average of 3 brains or artificial brains, I would call it that. But last point, we say that the data is not always accurate, but most times we also don't know where to look for the data. Okay, which is, so it's all cool to say that data inaccurate hai. I know, going by your experience in industry, you'll get to know ki what this is humbug, but do you really know where to look? So all of us just end up deleting that line. Chhod de, I'm not sure of this. Let me just delete this. So I think that's going to be one more very important thing going forward. So I don't know how that.
Let me quickly ask you also that which are the top 3 AI assistants you would love to
Yeah,
kind of recommend? Your favorite 3?
I am a Microsoft ChatGPT 4.0 fan. I also use DALL-E and Sora. Sora I've just started using. It's fun, but it's kind of, I mean, AI videos are really very, very easy to spot that
You
that's
can
an
prompt
AI
and
video.
makes a video,
Yeah, it
right?
makes a
That's
video,
right.
take a 10-seconder now. I think it's a 10 to 15-seconder video, and then more credits go into a longer video, sort of a thing, not very accurate. DALL-E is very good. Now with DALL-E and with, with 4.0, if you don't put up stuff on social media, there's something wrong with you. Because if you have an idea, Kiar, I have these 4 or 5 words, I want a nice quote around it, and I want a nice image around it, and let me put it out on LinkedIn. It's easy, anybody can do it. I think if you look at Gen AI with that sort of, seriousness, I would call it, it's really cool because you can do new stuff every day. But if you're going to put it in your mainstream of content creation, be careful. Prompt it right, make it learn, and use it to your advantage.
And I think there's been a lot of mainstreaming in the last 1 year that no, I don't use to, yes, I do use. That has really happened. Diksha, what are the best ways and which are your top three favorites that you recommend of AI assistants?
I use Copilot a lot. I use Chat GPT. Gemini, I think, was.
What's wrong with Gemini?
It's not always
It's a
factually
former
correct.
company, yes.
Yeah, and I think there is a lot of burden that has come onto Gemini because of its creator, which is Google. You look up to Google with a lot of trust, and you
Yes.
understand that there is a lot of authenticity.
And it
that
fails
it's
to
supposed
do, and then you really question it,
Exactly.
right?
So then you start questioning, like, where did you pick up this data? Because when I go on Google and I type a certain word, this is the article that I received, which has authentic information, but you don't. So I think when you start comparing that and you actually get into the research of it, then you start realizing that, okay, it's not delivering the most factual information that
Right.
you could get.
And what's the best way of using AI? How to get the most out of it, according to you?
I think we're living in the age of insights, Rohit. And data is everywhere. More the data, more the ideas you can have. So for me, enterprise technology, since I work for HP, enterprise technology, as the journalist once told me, is not quote unquote sexy enough. So it is very difficult to make journalists today understand that this is where I come from, this is what I'm talking about, what is the concept of swarm learning, or what is the concept of uh, anything like servers or storage, what are we doing, what is virtualization. It is very difficult to explain it to them, uh, making the documents idiot proof, I would say, right? It's very difficult. So something that I try to do is that when I reach out to journalists, I started making small videos, because we're a video first country now, right? So we're using videos everywhere. Reels are available on your tips, and the retention is also very less. Journalists are getting, we've been facing this problem that journalists are bombarded with hundreds of mails every day. So I started using AI to make those short videos where I can explain the concept without asking them to hold on to a particular document and read it and face the jargons and keep researching. So that is something that really helped me. Other than that, planning, strategizing, coming up with creative ideas. I have used Gen AI to do away with a lot of admin work that we had to earlier, right? Although by now I don't have to work on MOMs, but sometimes you do need transcripts, right? So I would use Copilot to create my transcripts, or sometimes help me with coverage updates, debriefs. All of that admin work has freed up a lot of time for me, which gives me that space where I can now think about what I want to do next, what is the need gap that I'm facing in my organization or with external stakeholders or whatever, and then work around it.
And how do you approach the prompt bit? I mean, a bit on that.
So, like I mentioned, I allow Gen AI tools to interview me, and uh, you have to offer them a context. Usually, I go from generic to specific. I would tell them what is the problem, what is the need gap, what is it that I'm aiming, what is my objective, and then I would, like Nikhil mentioned, if it takes 1,000 words, give it 1,000 words. And the best part is that you don't have to be correct in every way possible. You can just throw your thoughts into it, you know. It's like having a recorder with you all the time. I used to do this, like, so I like writing stories, other like fictional stories as well. And sometimes you don't have the paper and a pen or something to just write your thoughts, right? But so I started using these tools in that aspect also. I would just switch on the recorder, just say, oh, this happened, that happened, that happened. This is the beginning, middle, and end, and that is my story. And then I would work on that later, right? So that is how I use these AI tools also. Whenever I need to put in a prompt, I would put in as many words as possible, and I'm just throwing my ideas. It doesn't have to have a structure. Let Gen AI do it for you. And it really works. But again, give it all the information that it requires. If it doesn't, then let it ask you questions. Ask Gen AI, do you need any more information? Do you want more contextualization? And it will help you. So that really works.
Right. Tessin, what is your experience of getting the most out of an AI assistant as a comms specialist? What have you observed? How does it really respond best? Or your example.
So as I say that AI has silently but very strongly taken over on our daily lives. What we have to do as communications experts is to make the best use. How I do is that, I don't only depend on ChatGPT, I will take various apps. The best way is to give the right prompt. So if I give the right prompt, apart from that, I also tell that who is my stakeholder, whether I have to send it to leadership or I have to send it to external stakeholder, who's my audience basically, and what actually I want. Is it a write up or an information? How I want it? It has to be loaded with data or it has to be a fiction story. So once I give the right prompts and give it correctly, I feel my job is done. Secondly, as I always say, that use it as your assistant, apply your own mind. So once I get it, I read it thoroughly, I do my own research, and then only send it forward wherever it is required. The second part of it is, just don't randomly keep giving prompts. If you will do, you will not get the right results, because ultimately it's a machine and we have fed keywords to it. So it will only respond to those keywords which you will put rightly. And also, let not AI take over you. You take over AI. Then only you will be getting the best results. And of course, as Ina mentioned, I use AI for a lot of admin work. There was a meme going on last year. You must seen that, I want AI to do my utensils and top work so that I can do some quality work. Similarly, I want to use AI in a way that, my admin work is done, some reports which I want. So if I give the right prompt, the reports are, done by AI if I feed the right data. Similarly, if I have to get a minutes of meeting done, so it will be done quickly, but if the command is right. Presentations, AI is helping a lot in my presentations. I don't have to spend that much time. Similarly with videos. So when there are short videos which she was talking about, I think we just have to see it once, just edit some words, and the job is done. And it is helping a lot of communications professionals in getting the regional translations, which I started with. The job has become so easy. Earlier we have to look for a translator in Gujarati, a translator in Marathi for videos. Now that job is taken over by AI. What our job is to get it verified so that no one comes up and laugh that, okay, what is this translation? So ultimately we just have to use it as an assistant, but keep verifying to maintain our credibility. Also deep fakes and, misinformation, fake information. So we have to be very careful about it. And while we are careful, we have to keep using, because like computers were initially considered a threat, right now some people consider that AI can be a threat. It can never be a threat. It can be your best assistant. It can be your best colleague or an intern, whatever we say, but use it wisely.
Tanya, you.
See, I think we've already covered everything that the best practices with AI. It's just that your AI assistant is only intelligent when you are, is what I would like to say. It's artificial intelligence, but also, like she said, augmented. I'd say induced. The thing is, who is sitting in front of it, who's using it is what matters. The right prompts, definitely. I also think there's a process to the prompts, and we should trust the process. Like we are talking that it can be your teammate or an intern. Whenever some whenever there's a new person who joins your team, there is a training process that happens, and all like I believe the major ones that we are using today have this, that you train them first, you give all the information, you give all the documents, data, reports, whatever you have, and then ask your questions. Even so, like Nikhil mentioned, that even if you have to write 1,000-word things to get 1,000 words thing, it's okay. I end up writing 200 words to get 20-word sentence also. So the thing is that what are you feeding in? How are you training? The best thing, the best tool that we have is human intelligence. And that's how we can make the most of artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. I think it shows that human intelligence will define what you get out of it. So we stay ahead all the time.
Correct.
Ina, your thoughts?
Well, like my co-panelist said, and it's absolutely correct, that we are the experts.
Right.
So, especially for a technical field like mine, which is infrastructure or healthcare, these are such industries where a lot of research is required, a lot of technical information is required, and therefore we become the experts to give in what we need. If we don't, for example, today GNSS system is coming up. Now, when I was writing an article, the article did not have any mention of GNSS or satellite-based tolling. So I actually had to give them the prompt or give them the keywords based on which the articles were coming in. So I think AI today needs to have that balance between human intelligence and artificial intelligence to give us the kind of output that we are looking at.
Great. So those were the sectoral insights. We have 3 minutes. Is there any question we can take? Surely take a question if there is any. Great. I think they're really all convinced.
Just a recommendation for research. Grok is awesome.
Which one?
Grok.
The Elon Musk.
Yes.
I haven't. I'll try that.
It's actually
And by the way, one more thing. I think never accept the first draft. Tell him. I think the third or fourth draft is always the good draft, right? Okay. Absolutely. So I think we are done with this. So we can have a round of applause for our lovely panelists. Thank you for joining us on this.